Hello everybody, this is the video for week 3 of the teaching pronunciation course. This chapter, as you know, deals with the consonant system, one of the two parts of the sounds of the English language. The first concept or set of concepts that we have in the chapter is phonemes and allophones. We have the concept that a phoneme refers to the sound differences that distinguish words. For example, the vowel sound in the words butter and batter, okay? Depending on which sound you pronounce, you're going to get a different thing or a different concept. In this same type of difference, we have the pronunciation of words like bitch and beach, mate and meat, and etc. The other concept is the allophone. The allophone is a sound that is perceptibly different but does not distinguish the words. The example given in the chapter is the pronunciation of the T in butter, if we said it using American English, and butter if we used the British English version. As we can see, there is no difference in the meaning of the word, just in the pronunciation of one of the sounds. A phoneme can have several allophones related to it, as we can see. There is also the concept of contrastive distribution, which refers to the minimally distinctive units of sounds that can alter the meaning of a word. And this refers again to the first explanation of butter and batter, meat and met, sheet and shit, for example. Another concept that we take into consideration when we do phonemes and allophones is the positional variation. Depending on the position of a phoneme in a word, a different allophone is going to occur. And a distinction or establishing a distinction between phonemes and allophones is something that is specific to each language. The phonemic alphabet refers to a set of sounds of the language in order to be able to establish a one-to-one correspondence between the symbols used and the sounds they represent. In English, one letter in the alphabet does not represent the same sound all the time, nor does a specific sound always find its representation in one letter of the alphabet. This is totally different to our Spanish system, in which sounds or one sound is correspondent with the sound that it makes or with the letter it is represented with. There are 25 consonant sounds in the English phonemic alphabet, and several letters are not used in this phonemic alphabet: the C, the X, and the Q, which are made by combining other sounds, and there are 8 additional symbols representing these sounds. And you see them there. The TH sound, both of them, the th and the ch, the j, the sh, the j, and the nasal N, and the HW. When we look at the consonants, trying to find a way to classify them, the first thing that we're going to consider is the voicing. Voicing is going to refer to whether or not the vocal cords vibrate when the sound is produced. If there is vibration, we're going to classify these consonants as voiced. If there is no vibration, consonants are going to be classified as voiceless. Most of the consonant sounds in English come in pairs. One is going to be voiced while the other one is going to be voiceless. Take a look at the image we have there. You see the consonant sounds in pairs and how they are classified in voiced and voiceless, or unvoiced as they have it there. Another way to classify consonant sounds is by their place of articulation. Depending on where the sound is produced, according to the chart, there is going to be a classification. Let's just make it clear that these are articulators. Okay, the articulators are the parts of the mouth or the face or the vocal tract that we use to produce a sound. Depending on where the sound is produced, then we're going to have the classification according to their place of articulation. Moving from the front all the way to the back, consonants are going to be classified in bilabial, labiodental, dental, alveolar, palatal, velar, and glottal. Okay, and as you see, it goes from the front by pronouncing the letter P or B, all the way to the back when we pronounce the letter H, the sounding. All this information is compiled into what we call the consonant inventory chart. This chart compiles or recollects the classification of the consonant phonemes according to the place of articulation, the manner of articulation, and the voicing. Okay, so depending and using this chart, we can classify and give a description of each of the vowel sounds. So for example, if we took the sound of F, we're going to say that F is a fricative, labiodeltal, voiceless sound. Okay, so this chart works for having a clear and fast view of the classification of the different consonant phonemes. When we teach pronunciation, we have to pay attention to make pronunciation meaningful. Okay, we cannot stay in the part of just repeating and making sure that the sounds produced are accurate, but we have to use a communicative framework. Okay, and the chapter, the author provides a very useful structure that can be used to teach pronunciation, which we can see in the image over there. A communicative pronunciation lesson will have a description and analysis, okay, in which you explain your students how the sound is produced, then listening discrimination, in which they can distinguish when the sound is being used and when it is not, controlled practice, in which you pay special attention to the feature or to the sound that you're using, guided practice, which are little dialogues that the student can use to practice and produce the sound in a context, and finally the communicative practice, which is something less structured, in which students are more fluent and they do like role plays or problem-solving activities in which they practice the sounds. Okay, if you see that the framework works very well because it moves from the very specific to a more general thing. Okay, and there is a final application of all the sounds that are being studied in a context that makes it important and useful for the student and easier to remember. So the chapter ends up here, or at least this part of the chapter. Just keep in mind or start thinking a little how you would include these things in your class. Whether or not you have a specific pronunciation class, or more importantly, how you would include these things in a normal English classroom. What things would you include? How would you deal with those? And which sounds are more important to teach to Spanish speakers? See you in class next Wednesday.